Hello everyone, Big Seven here. Today I'm going to be going through my SuperCoach BBL general strategy and my starting team as it stands at the moment. We are a week out from the tournament, so it is subject to change, but I'll probably be looking to implement a similar structure to what I show here. If you enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll hopefully have another one of these out before the start of the tournament, which is next week. So up the top right of the screen, I have a graphic which shows all of the teams that are on doubles and the ones that have buys. This is kind of different to other SuperCoach games where every team will play once in a round. I guess in RL you do have players and teams that are on buys. But in SuperCoach BBL, because of the way the fixturing is, it isn't linear. You'll have some teams that play 3 times in 6 days while others won't play at all. And so this leads to a system where you've got some teams that have doubles and some teams that have buys. For week 1, the teams on the doubles are Strikers, Stars, and Thunder. So when building my team, I'm looking to really capitalize on the doubles. You get 3 trades per round as well as 3 trade boosts. So with a squad of only 16 players, it means you can recycle through your team quite a bit. And in relation to the buys, it's not really something I pay too much attention to. I'm looking to build a team with 15, I guess, playable players or good players, and using one player as a loophole. That loophole is for captaincy. Another difference between BBL and AFL or NRL is that scores are quite volatile. You can have a premium player that bats at the top of the order or bowls for really crucial overs at good times. And because a batsman can get out really cheaply or a bowler can just not take wickets and be expensive, it means that the floor for these players is low or pretty much non-existent in most cases. Floor is slightly higher for bowlers than for batters. And so with that in mind, I'll start building my team. So week 1 and week 2, the Thunder have 2 consecutive doubles. So when I'm building my team, I'm looking to start with these players. In terms of the wicket keepers, just going to move that graphic. All right. So in terms of the wicket keepers, only 2 listed there for the Thunder, which is Jilks and Holt. I'm not sure how high up Jilks will bat. I could see him batting as low as 4 or 5. He is a decentish price, but I'm not 100% sold on him, especially if he's batting at 5, then there's every possibility that he doesn't even get an opportunity to bat in some games, and so for that reason, I will not pick him. Onto the batsmen that will have opportunity, Riley Rousseau and Alex Hales. These are 2 international players who the Thunder will look to get involved. I could see these 2 being the opening batsmen. Hales is an explosive player. In fact, they're both explosive players. Hales has a bit more pedigree down in Australia. He's played here. I think this is his 4th or 5th tournament. Rousseau hasn't played any BBL at all. Regardless, even if you have any hang-ups over Rousseau or Hales, I think they're just pretty much slam dunk picks. 4 games in 2 rounds, I mean, surely they have at least 1 good score in there. Jason Sang is a bit more expensive, and I think bats at 3. Regardless, I'm going to be selecting him. I think there's a good chance that he gets some bowling overs as well, considering that the Thunder bowling lineup has been decimated. Isn't in the greatest form at Shield level, but I'm willing to ignore that, considering how well he scored last year and the fact that there's potentially an increased opportunity with bowlers. In terms of the bowlers, Daniel Sams is just a very easy pick. He should bowl death overs and also is a decent batsman as well. He is a power hitter. I think in some scenarios can come in at 4, but more likely to bat at 5 or 6. Scores well, highly owned, and that is for a reason. In terms of the other bowlers, I do have some reservations around some of these guys. Willie, international, but he decided he didn't want to play anymore, so the Thunder don't have David Willey, even though he's in the game. Sandhu only signed recently, wasn't on the original roster. I'm just not convinced about him as a bowling option. I don't really rate him that highly, so not for me at that price. Doggett a bit more expensive as well. I'm not even sure if he's available either. Tanveer Sangha is out for at least the first half of the tournament, so don't want to pick him. Chris Green, kind of cheapish. Will take some catches in the field, but ever since his bowling action got scrutinised a few years ago, he hasn't been the same player since. And so this leads me into, I guess, my favourite of the pure bowling options, and that would be Faruqi. He is the Thunder's third international. He bowls spin, which I guess is the Tanveer Sangha replacement. I think he's capable of taking wickets. 105k for an international is on the cheaper side, so I'm hoping that he can repay the faith there. And then the other two that are interesting are McAndrew and Cutting. I think McAndrew has I guess he's a bit underrated. I think he's a chance to play all 4 games for the Thunder. 103k, it's a bit of a gamble, but I don't mind slotting him in either. And the other one is Ben Cutting. I'm not sure if he is in the best 11, especially because he's more of a batting all-rounder than a bowling all-rounder. He did used to bowl a fair bit back in the day for the Heat, but his bowling really isn't that great. I'm not sure if they are going to play Cutting or not, and if he does play all 4 of those games, or if they decide to play an extra bowler based on matchups. So he's definitely an interesting option. Not someone I'm really hot on. I think the 5 that I want to pick are Russo, Hales, Sanger, Sams, and Faruqi. And I think the others that are options are McAndrews, Cutting, and potentially Jilks. I've got McAndrew in my team for now. But yeah, not 100% sold on him. And then we look at the other teams that have doubles. We've got the Strikers and the Stars, 4, 5 on-field spots to fill out for them. And both of these teams do have some good premium options that are able to be picked. Matt Short, almost 200k, should bat at the top of the order. There's a little bit of concern whether how many overs he bowls. I think he needs to bat and bowl to be viable at the price. But I do think the Strikers' best lineup does consist of 4 pure bowlers, with Matt Short and de Grandhomme filling out the 5th bowler spot. So I think Short will likely bowl the first over, maybe a couple more after that. And he is viable at 200k. Rashid Khan, I think he's pretty much a slam dunk. Bowls crucial overs, takes wickets, keeps economy down. It's just one of the best bowlers in the world. Very easy to pick him. Trent Bolt, another star international bowler. He hasn't played in the BBL before. 180k is a bit steep, but I think he will bowl crucial overs, should keep the economy down, and I think he is a class above this competition as well. 180k, I'm happy to put him in for the meantime. Others that are options, Siddle and Agar. Siddle is a good player. I guess he's on the older side now. That being said, he will bowl some death overs, good chance of picking up poles. Don't mind him at 150k either. Wes Agar only played 7 games. I think he's a good player. I'm just a bit unsure about his job security. De Grandhomme, mentioned him before, should be the fifth bowling option for the strikers. But I guess the difference between him and Short is that Short should bat at the top of the order. I think de Grandhomme will bat at 5 or 6. So I kind of have him, I guess, in a similar category to Dan Christian, where he could be explosive and have really big games where he bowls 3, 4 overs and has a good swing of the bat. There can be other games where he only bowls a couple of overs and doesn't bat at all. So I think he's a volatile option, but definitely someone worth considering. And then we go into the stars bowlers. There's a lot of cheap players here that are going to be more than viable. Zampa at 103k, I mean, he's a class player, plays internationally, should be taking wickets, should be keeping the economy pretty low. 103k, that is just a steal. I'm not really sure how you can go without him. So I'm going to put him in, removing Sams. I'm going to put him up. Although he is more of a bowling all-rounder, I am going to put him in my batting once this site loads. There we go. And then I guess the other player worth considering that is a bowler is Nathan Coulter-Nile. He is on the older side now. He is a bit injury prone, but I think he gets to bowl some death overs. So if he does that, capable of picking up some cheap poles, and 103k is pretty cheap for him. Onto the batsman, Matt Short, mentioned him below. Joe Clark, you can put him in your keeper position. I'm a bit unsure about him. He did score well last year, but his recent form has been underwhelming to say the least. 153k, it's a bit of an outlay if you want to put him in. Other guys, Chris Lynn, again on the older side, he's capable of scoring massive, but he just hasn't done it the past few tournaments. He is pretty cheap, but I think I'm willing to let this one go through to the keeper. The batsman I really want is Marcus Stoinis. He's at 83k, which is an absolute bargain. I know he's been above 200k in past seasons. Last year he was out of form with the bat and he didn't bowl at all. That was due to his shoulder. But he's been bowling for Australia. He'll bat at the top of the order for the Stars, and the Stars are missing Glenn Maxwell as well, so gives him even more license to bowl. 67%. I think he is the absolute lock of the squad. And so with that in mind, that is my 10 doubles from week 1. I wasn't too keen on Joe Clark. I wasn't too keen on Matthew Gilkes. There's also Harry Nielsen, 62k. I just don't have confidence in fielding him. So instead, what I'm going to do is pick a player from a different double. Scorchers player, they've got the bye week 1, so that's not a fieldable option. So I guess I've got 2 players that I'm umming and ahhing between, and that is Sam Billings and Josh Philippe from the Heat and the Sixers, respectively. Both of these class players, Josh Philippe in particular, started last year very well. 3 consecutive SuperCoach hundreds. Sam Billings, he's been playing pretty well for England internationally as well. Bit of a pod, and the week 3 double. So I've got him in my side at the moment. I'm not 100% sure if I go with him or Philippe, but I think I am set on one of these 2 options. And I do miss out on a week 1 double, but I will get a extra double in week 3. So that's how I'm justifying it at the moment. If I was to go Philippe instead of Billings, then it's the same thing. I miss out on a week 1 double, but I catch that back up in week 5. And then the other keeper I mentioned before, Scorchers have the week 1 bye, but they have a week 2 double. So I am picking Josh Inglis as my second keeper. And Inglis hasn't been last year he wasn't in the greatest form. Was batting up the order, down the order, all over the place. Didn't have a good tournament, which means he's underpriced for this one. And the Scorchers are missing Phil Salt and Mitch Marsh through their injury. So I think Inglis is a decent chance of opening the batting, which is where I think he is strongest. But also, even if he does bat down the order, I think he's just clearly underpriced, and he's someone that I'm going to want for that week 2 double regardless. So happy to stash Inglis on the bench. I guess with the rest of the team, I'm looking to stash players from later doubles, because that means I don't have to waste a trade in getting that player in. So say, for instance, I'll pick my next player, which is... my next player at the moment is James Vince. And so while people are trading in Vince in round 5, it means I can pick an extra sixer player to play in week 5. Vince is an international, has done decently in the past. Will bat near the top of the order for the Sixers. 100K, I think, is a bit underpriced for him. I'm happy to go with him and roll into week 5 with my extra Sixers player. I'm also going to pick a captain loophole. There's currently only one player that is a bat bowl and is 42K, and that's Cooper Conley. So he's in my team at the moment. And then continuing the theme of loading up for future rounds, I've gone with Hadsoglu at the moment. It's a bit risky because his job security isn't 100%. But he did play most games for the Scorchers last year. And recently in the T10 tournament in Dubai, he has been bowling very well in that. And obviously T10 is a hard format to do well in. So Hadsoglu, I think, will start for the Scorchers. They are stacked in terms of bowling options. They've got Tamal Mills, Andrew Ty, Jai Richardson if he's fit, Jason Behrendorff. So that's 4 really good quality strike bowlers. But I do think they need that extra spin option. I wouldn't be surprised to see Behrendorff not be selected, or maybe Richardson's rested a bit, or they kind of rotate through those bowlers, and Hadsoglu does play as that constant second spin option. The other spin option they have is Ashton Agar. He has just been a really solid option in the past. I think he does bat a little bit higher this year as well, given that all of the injuries to the other Perth Scorchers batsmen. So I think he could potentially bat at 6 this year rather than at 7. So it's a slight boost. And also he should bowl 4 overs every game. So this is a team as it stands right now. Again, very heavy on week 1 players and also on week 2 players. I guess the thing I like, I know I've got more Thunder players than everyone else or most other people, but it also gives the flexibility, because if I stick with this kind of lineup, then for week 2, I'll have something along the lines of 9 players that are already on a double. And so that means that rather than bringing in 3 Perth Scorchers players next week, I can bring in 2 players, and then I can bring in a Heat player. I can bring in 2 Scorchers players next week as well as a Heat player. And that means when it gets to the week 3 double for the Heat, I'm going to have 5 Heat players in my team, potentially even 6 if I wanted to boost the Thunder player out as well. The other thing I'm thinking about doing is loopholing. I said before that I wasn't really too keen on McAndrew. So what I'm probably going to do is have him on my bench. If he scores really well, then great. I can emergency loophole his score onto the field. If he plays poorly in the first game and doesn't play the second game, then I can, or even if he just plays poorly in the first game, I've got this 160k Agar sitting on my field. I could trade him, get a different bowler in, say I could turn him into a Siddle, and then I've still got my 10 doubles for week 1. Obviously, it means 1 less double for future weeks, but it also, I don't know, it prevents a poor score going on field this week. So I think that covers everything. I'll be back probably in 5 or 6 days to go through my final team. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, put it down in the comments section. Hopefully, SuperCoach do something about this website because it is slow as anything right now. So hopefully that gets sped up before the start of the season. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you for the next one.